Forward here. So first of all, good day. I can't really say good morning because, Robin, what time is it there in London?
It's 2 p.m. here,
2
so
p.m.
good
So good
afternoon.
afternoon to those joining us from across the pond. And that's the beauty of this technology these days. I can have Robin join me and I don't have to do an entire presentation for the entire time. And you get the luxury of hearing two different voices instead of a Rhode Island accent girl that lives in upstate New York in the United States. So first of all, thanks for taking time out of your schedule to join us to learn a little bit about Big Picture. Today is just an introduction to Big Picture. We're just going to scratch the surface, cover some of the basics that exist in Big Picture. There obviously are a lot more features, and we encourage you to play with Big Picture a little bit. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Robin or myself. And at the end of the presentation, we will absolutely post our contact information. My name is Michelle Jackson, and I'm the product manager here for Big Picture here at Palisade Corporation. And for those of you that may not be familiar with Palisade, we are a global company with our headquarters based here in upstate New York. So for those that were on the call before we started recording, you probably heard us banter a little bit about the weather in Ithaca. So last year, or actually 2 years ago, we celebrated our 30th anniversary. So we've been around for 32 years, which is pretty impressive for a software company. So I want you to just have faith that although Big Picture may be new to the market, Palisade is not, and our developers are completely familiar with developing add-ins for Excel, which is what Big Picture is. So you can see I've left on my screen our website to show you. So for those of you that may not be familiar with Big Picture, you may be more familiar with Palisade because of at-risk or precision tree, neural tools, stat tools. So you might be more familiar with our other products. So if you do not already have Big Picture, I highly encourage you to simply go to our homepage, which is palisade.com, and click on the Big Picture option here. When you click here, you can click on this free trial download, and that will have a form for you to fill out to download that. For those that like to purchase, we are trying something new to get people to really just try this product out, see how it can improve your day-to-day activities. So we're offering a one-year license for $49, which is pretty reasonable for the amount of return on investment you'll get off of that without a doubt. And we also do have the option for a permanent license, which is $199, and that's a permanent one, not a one-year one. So just want to mention that. And then for those of you that are joining us that are Decision Tool Suite users, it's important for you to realize that when you upgrade to version 7, you get Big Picture with it. And so that's an interesting little thing to note right off the bat. So that is where you can access Big Picture. Now I'm going to go ahead and go into Big Picture. So here we are. We're in Big Picture. And some of you may look at the screen and go, actually, no, you're in Microsoft Excel. Big Picture, as I mentioned earlier, is an add-in for Microsoft Excel. So the beauty of this is you stay in your comfortable environment. So the learning curve is a lot less for any of our products, including Big Picture. What do we use Big Picture for? Well, Big Picture is a diagramming, mind mapping, and data exploration add-in for Microsoft Excel. Sounds like a lot, but pretty much by the end of today, you get a feel for maybe how it can fit into your world and your everyday experiences. So basically what Big Picture does is it gives you a way to create visual diagrams in Excel to represent some complex ideas or problems, which you'll see when we go over strategic planning and our slideshow example. It also gives you a way to represent forms of data. And for those of you that are familiar with our Decision Tool Suite tools, you may already be aware that the majority of our products are very quantitative in nature, deal heavily with numbers and calculations and simulations and optimizations. And the reality is the missing piece was this qualitative nature. So for those that use our Decision Tool Suite, I want you to visualize the fact that you could use BigPicture on the forefront of your project for brainstorming, helping to understand ideas. Then you can also use BigPicture for the initial understanding of data, like we're showing here. Basically, BigPicture takes advantage of the fact that humans are visual animals. So then, after you do your modeling in Excel and with our other products, you can also use BigPicture to present and to communicate and to go back and forth with others and have it just be easier for them to see, no pun intended, the big picture. But that's what this is all about, hence the name. So in general, humans tend to retain information better and they tend to grasp relationships better when presented in a diagram. So, or in a picture, or in a visual way. So maybe by the end of this, hour-long journey you take with us, you might only remember the fact that she said something that Big Picture's used for understanding ideas, because I remember the idea is the light bulb. It triggers that memory. Or maybe it's about the understanding data, or maybe it's the cool features that we're going to show you. So I don't want to hold off on that. I just want to at least give you the idea of the point behind developing such a product. And essentially, it's a tool used to help organize, strategize, and analyze to allow you to focus. And really, time is of the essence in everything we do. So this allows you to kind of take it all together, keep it all in one place. You have your data in Excel, you have your modeling in Excel, you have your simulations in Excel, and then you can present in Excel. So you can keep it all in one tight little package. So it allows you to focus on that too. So let me minimize this. Now, the first step to learning a product is following a couple videos, attending a few webcasts. So if you're not joining us live, if you're watching this on a recording, that is fantastic. It is the best way to get the first exposure of how to manipulate, use the software. And that's our goal today. Another option for you is to also, when you're in BigPicture, click on the Help, go to Documentation, then you can select Help here. And that will take you to our online manual. So in the online manual, you will be able to see step-by-step different ways, screenshots, steps on how to do things, all different ideas and everything. So this really gives you, if you have any questions, start there. And if you have questions, you can also reach out to us too. But just know that this is available to you. And if online is not an option, we did put the latest and greatest at the time that we distributed, which is right here, this manual. That's a PDF that's actually installed when you install BigPicture on your computer. And I do want to mention we've had a couple of people say, well, how do I even launch BigPicture? So when you install BigPicture, it's going to put a shortcut icon on your desktop. And you can launch BigPicture straight from there by just double-clicking, and it will open up Excel. Or you can have Excel open and then click on the icon on your desktop or from your Start menu. Now the next thing I want to just point out is the example spreadsheets. That is where we're going to do a lot of our work today. Robin's going to do an example that he kind of creates off of a blank worksheet, but I'm going to start off by pulling an example right from the example spreadsheets. What the example spreadsheets does for you is it provides you, and you can see there's quite a few here, links to other Excel files that are included in your download. And these are just different maps, different data maps, org charts, and examples of ways that BigPicture was used so that you can kind of explore these. And with each one of them, there's an information page at the beginning. So the first one we're going to look at is part of business planning. And we're going to do this village car acquisition one. And when we go into this village car acquisition one, before we go into it, I just want to point out that this All of these from business planning are all part of a Harvard Business Review case study. So essentially what we did was we had someone on our team read a case study and then summarize it. So when we go through this example, I really would love it if you could look at it from two different points. One, from the point of someone using it as a summary tool, a study tool. This is fantastic for students, or if you're getting ready to study for a test. I actually recently went to a mind mapping conference and was able to see how people use mapping to also diagnose themselves. It's pretty wild. But there's all different ways that you can use it. But for this particular case, I want you to look at it from a studying perspective. And I would also like you to look at it from a full-blown example of what we're going to cover, an acquisition. Something that happens pretty regularly in today's world. I know even personally here at Palisade, we needed a project done, and we had a smaller company working on it for us, and that smaller company got bought out by a bigger company, and then that bigger company got bought out by another bigger company. So this is something that happens on a regular basis. It's not a foreign idea. It's not a foreign concept. So I think it's a good one to share with you today. So this village car acquisition, when we open it up, it gives a summary. It tells you where we got the case study from, kind of tells you a little bit about it. And essentially, this village car acquisition example is a large rental car company called Beacon that's acquired a smaller car sharing company called Village Car. So imagine Beacon is like Avis or Hertz, and Village Car is like Zipcar or some other local car sharing service. Here in Ithaca, it's called Ithaca Car Share. The two companies have different business models, different cultures, different strengths and weaknesses. And if you're Beacon, there are a ton of things to consider. What do you do about the name and image? How will customers of each company react to the deal? Will profitability be improved? Well, how about we map that out? Let's map out all of those different thoughts that are going through our head. And typically these kinds of discussions would involve people in a room jotting down notes in PowerPoint or Word or on a whiteboard, or maybe even on legal pads, kind of doing bullet lists, pros and cons. And what this does is this allows us to have an interactive way to provide some of those points, but have it be not only interactive but graphical, so that we can really absorb the different options and see it all as a bigger picture. So imagine you read this case study. So now we're going to go back into the studying part. We read this case study. Now we're just summarizing. There's three options: full, hybrid, or independent. Or maybe we're experiencing it and we're standing in front of our board and we're saying, okay, if we go with full integration, all operations must be fully integrated. The Village Car brand becomes Beacon, and the Village Car shorter rental model gets added to Beacon. Well, what are the drawbacks of it? Well, Beacon customers aren't drawn to short-term rental concepts, so maybe we're not gaining anything. The fanatical customer, the villagers of Village Car might revolt, and employees might join them when that brand is lost. Like all of a sudden you might upset them that all of a sudden this Village Car that had this tight-knit community is now, in a bigger pond with Beacon, and maybe it upsets people. So there's different things to think about. So you may notice that when I click on certain green circles, so you're going to see these green circles here, when I click on them, the other one collapses. So if I click on this green one, these are going to go away. So I click here. If I open up this level, once I try to open up another level, that one goes away. Why is that? Well, that is actually a feature called Single Expand. So you'll see up at the top here in BigPicture, in the BigPicture ribbon, that's part of Excel, you'll see the Single Expand button. When I deselect that and hit on any of these little green expander buttons, it'll keep everything open, right? If I have Single Expand on, now when I click on anything else, it will automatically collapse. The beauty of this feature is if you are presenting to your board these different options, and you only want them to focus on what's going on in full integration. You don't want their eyes wandering. You don't want them overwhelmed by the number of topics that are going to be covered. You can actually focus on, all right, let's focus on full integration first. What are the pros and cons? Let's see where they lie. Okay, let's look at hybrid integration. But then if we want to look at both at the same time, say we want to look at the attributes of full integration at the same time as hybrid integration, I can click on this expander circle and hold my shift key down, and it'll keep them both open even though single expand is on. So if I click open, I'm holding my shift key down, I can still have these to look at. Now, we've had markers. First of all, actually, I should rewind. I get so excited because there's so many fun stuff, so many fun things in BigPicture. But I gotta at least let you know what a topic is. A topic is any shape that's in your map or your diagram, or your chart. So all these shapes are called topics. So when you hear me say topic, that's what I'm referring to. When you hear me say connectors, those are the lines that connect the topics together. Expanders are these green plus signs, and then the collapsers are the red X there. So that's what collapses our topics. Now, we've had what's called markers around for a while, and I know Robin's going to cover these, but I do want to show quickly a few marker options so that you can see how this could be used in the real world. That's what this is about. This isn't about just exploring some example data set. We want to be able to show you how you can implement this in what you are doing, because that's what's important. Robin and I could demonstrate all of the example files, but I want to just give you some ideas of how we could use this. Maybe you're going through and you're analyzing what's important, what's not. So I'm going to open up a few of these. Like, say we think, that fanatical customers, villagers might revolt. That's a pretty important one. So we're going to red flag that one. That's one that I want to keep a strong eye on. So I can right-click on that topic, and I can go to markers, and I can say I would like to put a red flag on that one. Okay, so I'm just going to put this little red flag in the bottom right. And maybe I find a few others, and I'm not even going to read them, but I find a few others that I want to put a red flag on. And to select multiple, you can shift click on these. Or as you go through, you can individually, let's go here, right mouse click, choose markers, do red flag. So I'm going to add just a few different color flags. Now, you might do flags, you might do stop and go things, you might do arrows, high or low. So you can choose whatever you'd like. So, maybe you do numbers as far as ranking of importance. That's a 5, and, this one might be a 5 as well. Let's see here. Oops, my happy mouse finger is not working so well. And I don't want to show you tags right now. I want to show you markers. So maybe we do a 5 here as well. And then maybe we do, I'm going to do just a bunch of the same ones. So now I have some 5s, I have some red flags, what have you. Now I can look at this entire thing in an outline form. This entire map can actually be presented in an outline form by simply clicking on this outline pane up here. So you can see this is the outline pane, and this, if I expand out, it's just like expanding out there. If I click on any one of these, I can say customer confusion. Ooh, that's a hot one. Let's go ahead and put a red flag on that. I'm going to go ahead and put a marker here, and we're going to say red flag on that one. So these are hot topics that we need to address before our next meeting. That's what's important to us. Now, when I look at the map, I can't see all the red flags, right? I can't visualize it. I can't see it all. Well, I could do one thing. I could expand out the entire map and say no topics collapsed, and I could scroll through and look for those red flags, but that's a little tedious. That kind of defeats the purpose, right? I could scroll through and look for the 5s, look for the 6s, look for the 7s, what have you, whatever we labeled them. Or I could click on this little icon right here, and it's going to go ahead and list off anything that's labeled with a 5 and anything that's labeled with a red flag. Now, consider like the fact that you could go through this entire map on your own time and gauge where you think things are. And you could also use this as a progress report. I personally did that when rolling out the marketing for BigPicture. I actually have a marketing map of all the different venues and outlets and where we were going to be advertising, etc. And then I would red flag them, yellow flag them, green flag them to let them know where they were at. I would color code them based on who was taking care of that responsibility. So this gives us a nice, easy, quick glance that we can look and say, okay, the red flag hot items we need to take care of right now is this customer satisfaction one. And if I click on it, it's going to bring me right there. Customer satisfaction, that's part of hybrid integration. The fanatical customers, that's part of full integration. And Village Car employees, we need to take a look at that one. Let's take a look and see that's part of hybrid integration. So I just wanted to show you how we can start manipulating this map. So not only making a pretty picture or a summary of what we're dealing with, but also using it as a tool to most efficiently maximize our time and see what we can get out of it. We have a customer in Australia who uses BigPicture, and they use it as a tool to share with the employees where their employees are in the whole company, the whole processing of mining. And essentially what they do is they want to show the employee where they're at, which branch are you at? Because if you don't get your stuff done, these people all are waiting on you at that point. So it just visually shows the employee where they're at. And it also shows some of the hiccups that could happen because a truck runs out of gas or what have you. So anyway, I can totally go off tangent, but what I'm going to do is, so this is strategic planning. I'm just going to quickly show, before I pass the baton over to Robin, I mentioned at the beginning that we can also use BigPicture for mind mapping. And I also mentioned that I attended a mind mapping conference recently, which was awesome. It was great to kind of rub elbows with people that do mind mapping on a regular basis. And I think for those that aren't familiar with mind mapping, an important thing to realize is mind mapping is just a way to diagram something to be able to organize that information. And typically mind maps use topics or ideas drawn around a central topic and branching out from it. So that last example we just did was a strategic planning map. This right here is a mind map, and essentially it's a central topic called 6 Hats of Decision Making. And if you haven't heard of 6 Hats of Decision Making and you do a lot of collaborative decision making, I highly recommend looking it up. It's a great little procedure. Basically everyone takes a hat all at once, they all put on the white hat, and they talk about information, facts, neutral ideas, like nothing that's going to go positive or negative, and the raw data. Then everybody puts on their red hat for a couple minutes and they just talk about their gut feelings, their intuition, their emotions. Then everybody puts on a black hat and they talk about all the negatives. So, and et cetera, et cetera. But I just want to show you that BigPicture can also be used for the mind mappers of the world out there. So for all of the examples I saw at this mind mapping conference last week or 2 weeks ago, all of those examples could be recreated using BigPicture. So it can be used for mind mapping, it can be used for strategic planning, and now I'm going to pass it over to Robin, and he's going to show you a few other ways that BigPicture can be used. And if you have any questions as we're going along, especially while Robin's presenting too, not that I want you to not pay attention to Robin, but while Robin's presenting, I'm available to type and answer any questions. So feel free to come up with questions, and if you don't have them right off the top of your head now, also you can contact us afterwards. Fire away, Robin. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, as Michelle mentioned, I'm going to go through freeform mapping where you start with a blank worksheet and you build up to a whole map. So we just start off with the basic of creating a new topic, which you do up here in the ribbon. I think it's important to remember throughout all of this there's usually more than one way of doing things. So you can either do things by right-clicking and selecting the menu here that Michelle mentioned, but you can also use the toolbar up here. So feel free to have a play around and try it on your own, and there's no harm in playing around and doing things wrong because you can always edit it because it's really easy to do. So we're going to sort of stick with the strategic planning theme. We're going to look at where to locate a new manufacturing plant. So you can just type and it fills the topic with the text, so easy enough to set up. And then you can draw out from these red squares and it will automatically add in topics like this. And this blue rectangle, this is pretty much just the template, the basic topic that will always come up. You can change the defaults if you like. And then you can sort of just start filling it in. You can look at things like labour costs. But you might think that quite a long-winded, time-consuming way to sort of draw out a map. So if we just delete those, I'm going to type in a few things here in the cell, like labour costs and tax incentives, ease of access, and basically I'm just going to map from these cells and then add them into, just turn them into topics and add them into our map, which is much easier than sort of drawing it out and sort of making it just take just that little bit longer. And if you're not so comfortable with BigPicture, it's an easy way you can just work with Excel and sort of draw out your own map. So you can add them by right-clicking on the topic you want to add to, and then you say Add Children. And then you want to just highlight the cells with the text in that you want to add. So if we only wanted to add a couple, just highlight those, and you say OK. And now because Auto Arrange is on up here, it's just mapped it out quite nice and neatly. If Auto Arrange wasn't on, they'd sort of all be on top of each other, and it'd be a bit more messy. So this is a really useful button in terms of organising and sorting out a map when you're building from scratch. It just sort of keeps things in line. But you can just as easily turn it off, and then whenever you draw out new topics there, just go wherever you go. But if you turn it back on again, you can see they spread them out nice and evenly, so it just looks that much neater. Just delete those. Another really useful thing for editing is this select tool up at the top. So you can choose different levels of the map. If I just choose all topics, then you can use this to, you can edit the font size here. Pretty much anything you can change in like an Excel cell, you can use to sort of edit your topic. So you can see as I scroll through the fonts and stuff in the topics, they change as well to match this. You can change the fill here. You can change the, basically you can put in any fonts, any way you can edit a normal cell you can do here. You can change the shapes as well. So say you just wanted this, that's not a great example, so you can make them all round. And then BigPicture also changes where you can draw topics out from, because before you could only do the full one from each side. Now you can see as it's round, there's more points. So that's another thing you can consider when you're building a map. And you can change where the text is located in the cell to make it center. So there's all sorts of ways you can just sort of edit your topics and change things around just to get it to appear the way you'd like it to. Now, you may think, because we've got two topics here relating to labour, you might want to add in sort of a subtopic of labour and have them both underneath there. And you can just add a topic in between our main parent root topic here. You can select this connector, which is the arrow linking them. Then you right click and you select new topic between. and then you don't want all of them to connect to all of them, so you say no. And so there you are. They've added in the default, so obviously it doesn't match all the red circles we got. And we can choose labor. And I'm going to turn auto arrange off here as well. So now we need to move labor cost down underneath this sub topic of labor. And you can do that by clicking and holding.
Robin, can I
And then,
interrupt for one quick second?
yeah,
I
sure.
want to make sure my screen is frozen on this end, and I want to just check to make sure. Oh, now it's catching up. Multiple topics connect. Okay.
Okay.
For some reason it wasn't updated. I just want to make sure everyone can see on their end. Okay, fire
Oh,
away.
great, yeah.
Beauty of having someone else online. There you go. Keep going.
All right, brilliant. So yeah, before Michelle interrupted me,
Rudely.
I was just
Now it's
rudely.
selecting labor costs. Is that correct on your end?
That's correct, yeah.
Awesome. Yay.
I was just saying, you can move topics around. So you click and hold, and you wait for it to change colour to this sort of like pale red and light orange colour. And then you can scroll it around the map. And can you see where the red squares are lighting up? Hopefully, if my screen's catched up or caught up. And then wherever the red square is, when you release, that's where it will add on. And you can do this for labor with both of these as well. So if I click and hold a bit longer, it will select the children under there, and I can move it around our root topic like that. And then we can just sort of rearrange to get it to match as well. So that's just a simple way you can just rearrange and change the map. I also want to show you now how Michelle sort of added those in her hats example, how she made the hat a topic, because obviously that's not a basic shape in Excel. You can't just find a hat shape. She did that by changing the fill of the topic to a picture. You can do that here, like so. And this is pictures that I have saved in my computer library because I'm using a slightly older version of Excel. I'm using 2010. But if you have a later version, then you can search Bing, I believe, and you can find pictures straight from the internet. So you can see it's just filled the topic with the safety first picture I selected, and it still has the word safety in because it's referenced to the cell here. And I can remove that by opening the topic pane and then choosing to edit the label. So right here it's referencing cell K5. And I'm going to choose a simple label. And this gives us a bit of a warning sign. So we say that's fine, that's what we want to do. It moves the text from the cell into the label so you can edit it if you wanted to. But here we're just going to delete it all out. So again, easy, simple, quick. Now I want to talk a little bit more about this topic pane here, because as Michelle mentioned, you can add marks by right clicking, or you can use up here. You can also use the topic pane as well as the outline pane. So it's got all the lists of markers here. So you can add in like an up arrow for future growth if that's what you want. Or if you select a new topic here, it will edit the topic you have selected. That's important to remember. And you can choose to say this is how much we progress through our tax incentives research. And here it is. You can also add a picture to the topic, so it can add in on one side. You can do that through either the topic pane here by choosing picture, and you can say to include picture.
Excuse me, sorry.
And it puts in a little placeholder here, and then you can resize it so you get the topics, all the labels and the topics. Then you right click, choose sort of change picture, and then you can just add in whatever you like. I mean, it's not the neatest thing in this example, but you can work it so it works with your topic shape and the picture you're adding in. So that's just a couple of the ways you can sort of build and edit a map. But I also want to show you a new feature from our latest update from the January-February update, is how you can create a map like this by drawing it out with a little bit of indentations and an outline. So if you highlight all of this, and you say copy or Control C, you can open the outline pane and you choose this one with the down arrow. And then you say yes, insert the map. You can see it draws out the map itself, which is again really cool, really quick feature, really good way to draw out a map. So you can see that's where the root top is, then everything in this column will be directly linked to that. And then I've got a little indentation under labour, so we've got our two topics in relation to labour there. And now, as well as markers in the outline pane, you can add tags, which is another new feature where you can sort of add just sort of effectively labels to the map. You can also do it by right-clicking here. You choose tags and it pops up. Similarly to the markers, you get a little menu here. So you might want to say these two labour items of medium importance, and you see it adds it in here. You can select a couple of these, and you can choose to do it from up here on the BigPicture toolbar. And then you can say map level 4, and that edits the topic so you can sort of see immediately. And then if you wanted to, you can drag in other topics and add them to the markers here. Or if you wanted to have, say, labour in map level 4 and have medium importance, you have to drag the tag to the topic. If I just drag labour into there, it will take it out of the medium importance. So that's another fun thing you can play around with. I can't really go into too much detail at the moment because I know we're going to be pressed for time and we've got quite a few other things to look at. I'm just going to very, very quickly show you how you can edit connector styles in the way that Michelle pointed out in the strategic planning. So you can right click and then you can say label style, here, a line style where you can change it to elbowed or curved or straight. Or you can also add in a label. Here we've got the plus and the minuses, so it will sort of indicate if they're obviously positive or negatives. But you also have just anything that could possibly be of use. Or you can add in a custom label, which would just add in sort of a text box in the middle. And something is happening. So I'm just going to delete this map, because if you have many maps open, it can cause an issue. So here, add in a connector label here, just a custom label, and there it is. And we can just add in there, just type into the text box. So that's another way you can edit the map, and you can also format the shape to make it thicker, to make it more pronounced, or you can change it to dashed, or change the colour just to make it stand out more. So these are all sort of very quick run through of all the basic ways you can edit a map. I encourage you to sort of go through it and play around with it yourself, because obviously I can't sit through and go through everything, and just sort of find the way that sort of helps you explain the map the way you'd like to. So I think I'll leave the freeform map in there for the moment. Close out of that. And then I'm going to talk about data maps now. Data maps is one of the auto-generating maps that we have here, where you basically have a sheet of data. In this case, it's about where the energy source is spread out throughout the Midwest states in the US. So here we got a relatively small spreadsheet of a few, 50 odd rows. You can see it's broken down by state, the name of the plant, what sort of energy source it is, the company that owns it, the capacity of it, and here we've got a link to either a website or a PDF, just to give you a bit more of a description. And then you go to the auto generate section up here, and then you select data map. So you can see it pops up this dialog box. Then this group topics here, this says it's going to break this information down into state first, so there'll be a section for Minnesota, then Illinois, Indiana, etc. And then it's the primary energy source, which is coal, nuclear, gas, which will come in after the states. You can see there's only a few options here, which is because BigPicture automatically sorts out which columns can be used for grouped. It's those which have a large amount of repeating data in, because there's obviously a large amount of each state and a large amount of each energy source. Everything else you can put into the end topics, which will generally be appearing in tables, but you can choose to have them as individual topics. The tables makes it easier to read and just much easier to understand the map. So here we've got the plant name, the operating company that owns it, and the capacity. We've chosen here to roll up the capacity number. So that means under each state you can see the total capacity, and then once you expand the state out you can see the total capacity for things such as coal or gas or etc. We've got pictures on this example. This is because when you download BigPicture you get a picture file saved to your computer here in a folder. And it says look into this folder, match a picture based on the operating company. So that means there's a picture with the same name as each operating company, or there's one with coal and one for gas, and also one for the state names. They have to match up perfectly, otherwise BigPicture won't be able to map them across properly. And we're also going to display this we're going to display the description as a hyperlink, so that's also quite useful to see. We're not going to filter it, and we're just going to display it normally. And you can say create map, then BigPicture goes through and works out. So you can see it's broken it down into states first. So you've got each state here and each capacity there. So that's been rolled up, that's what that means. Excuse me. And then you can expand out, so you can see Indiana's 15,000 is broken up into 14,000 of coal and then a small amount of gas. So you can see there's obviously a lot more coal in Indiana than there is gas, and there's no nuclear at all. And you can see what expand is on, so if I go into Illinois, it shuts down Indiana. You can see it's a bit more evenly spread, but with a much larger amount of nuclear. But if you expand it out here, we've got our new end topic tables, which are different to the ones that we had before, because the ones we had before were connected to the maps here, but here they've been displayed like this. You can choose to tick display multiple tables, and you can sort of scroll through and compare them all. You can take out the ones you don't need. This is one of the new features. And you can also create a report from here, which you could save as a PDF. I don't want to. But this is for if you want to send this map to someone who doesn't have BigPicture, then you can save it as a report and you can send this, or the PDF. This is a dynamic spreadsheet, which is essentially broken down into state and then again the type of energy. You can click here and it'll take you to the what is essentially the end topic table for coal and Indiana. So quite a powerful tool to analyze the data. You can use it in replacement of a pivot table as well. That's the same sort of thinking. I'll get rid of this report. And I'll also show you how easy it is to change the way the map appears. So before we had it broken down to state and then into energy source, you can just easily switch them through and then you can create a map and it will work out if you want to look and focus more on the energy source rather than trying to break it down into state. If you're not interested in the states, then it just breaks it down here. So you can see clearly coal is the most widespread, widely used energy source, and you can break it down. You can see Indiana has nearly half, or at least 3 times more than everyone else. That's just another way you can sort of edit the data and get a good overall view. So that's pretty much it for data maps. I encourage you to go back through and look through all our examples and see how they work and how they can be applied to your work as well. And I'm going to quickly touch on organization charts, which, as you can see, if you have like a sheet for all your employee data, is pretty much basic HR data. You get our employee name, their job title, the job title of their direct supervisor, phone number, what city, their salary, and their performance rank, and then their little review summary here at the end. And now this essentially, you can use an organizational chart to change this spreadsheet data into an org chart, which is quite powerful, and it will help save a lot of time, because if you have to do this by hand, it takes a long time. So the first thing to remember is this is based on 2 columns, which is how this BigPicture sets out the hierarchy, which is these 2 columns here, employee title and supervisor title. This means that when BigPicture is mapping or creating the map, it will look for, they know Amanda Nelson's going to be sales director in the West, but she'll be directly beneath the managing director in the West. And so if we look through the employee title, there will be a managing director in the West, which is here, and that's Loretta Smith. You can see she's directly beneath the CEO and president, who is Jeffrey Wiggins. And as he has no supervisor title, that means he's going to be right at the top of the chart, because he's the top dog, there's no one above him. So that's just sort of a brief explanation of how BigPicture will build up this map. So if you click the org chart in the top and the auto generate bit at the top, then it comes up with this dialog box. So you can choose to map employees to supervisors, and then each topic there'll be the employee name, the employee title, and the location. If you want, we can add some more here. It doesn't restrict us like the data maps does. You just click this drop down box arrow here, and you can just add anything here. But we don't want to add in things like the salary, because that's a bit that's sensitive information. So we're going to add this here under a calculations note, which means it will roll up and it will count how much salary each person is responsible for. So each supervisor, you can see how much the people beneath them are paid all together collectively. There's also a head count, so you can also see how many people is sharing that collective salary. We're going to add in a couple of markers or tags here. So we've got the review summary as a note, so you can just click and expand and read it if you want. And we've got our performance rank as a number. Again, we've got pictures of each people which come with your download. These are again saved in a folder, and the names will match up. So Amanda Nelson's picture was labeled Amanda Nelson, so BigPicture can find it. I'm not going to filter it, I'm just going to use normal display features as well. So here what it's doing, BigPicture is finding the supervisors and the employee titles, and they're matching them up. So they basically find the hierarchy and adding people in and around. And here we are. So yeah, here we got Jeffrey Wiggins up at the top as the CEO and president. Then we've got Loretta Smith, the managing director in the West. And here we've got Amanda Nelson as the sales in the West, director of sales in the West. And here are the people below her. You can see here in the Sigma note, this is the calculations note. So you can see Amanda Nelson is in charge of 5 people with a total salary of $393,100, and she has her own salary here as well. You can see if you go to Loretta Smith, it will have all of Amanda Nelson's and all of June Peters' people in as well, and the blank note is the annual review as well. So that's obviously really quickly to set up and really useful, because You can contain a lot of information here, and if you wanted to, you could expand it all out so there's no topics collapse. And you can see the entire chart. You can zoom out as well. And then if you wanted to send this to someone who didn't have BigPicture, because the expansion and collapsing won't work, you can just send this. They wouldn't get advantage of the notes, but they can see the basic outline. Or, like the data maps, you can click the org chart here and create a report. Also available as a PDF, but I don't want to save it. And here, again, it will create a dynamic worksheet that you can send to someone as well, which is obviously very useful, as you don't want to be creating org charts that you can't sort of send to people and share around. So here you can see you've got Jeffrey Wiggins at the top, then there's James Larson, Linda Zimmerman here, and it's broken down as well. You can collapse people as well by clicking on their name. Then they got their personal employee title and the city that they work in, the number, their employee rank, and they got our calculations here. So you can see everyone is beneath Jeffrey Wiggins, but there's only one person beneath William Farnham. That's Luke Morgan. Luke doesn't have anyone beneath him, so that doesn't appear here. Then this is the total salaries and the employee performance rank, and then there's the summary as the notes. So as you can see, you've taken all the information in the spreadsheet, turned it into this map here, and then it's turned into this org chart report. And briefly, I just want to show you something that you can do which is different since our upgrade. We've got we can add in conditional formatting. So we can add that here in our salary column, for example. We can just add in colours, which doesn't automatically update, so we have to run the org chart again, but you can see the highest will get the greens and the lowest will get the reds. We just quickly run the map again. Yeah, we can overwrite. So it's just going to appear exactly the same in terms of layout, but it's also going to represent the salaries in a color-wise function. And then you can use that to sort of see, is the salary being shared out in like the correct way? Are the highest earning people or the people highest up in the chain going to be earning the most amount of money? And hold on, I seem to have a bit of an issue at the moment. So hopefully this works this time, but I am aware we're running out of time quickly, so I'm trying to sort of speed through a few things at the moment. Okay, there seems to be a bit of an error on my computer, probably because I've been opening so many different things, but this is probably a good time for me to pass back to Michelle, who will go through all the slideshows and everything like that.
Absolutely, sounds great. Yes, we are running a little short on time. You know, I wouldn't necessarily blame your computer because there was still some lag on my end during the presentation. I don't know if maybe, I mean, it might be your computer as far as memory is concerned, but there was definitely a lag in between speaking and seeing, at least on my end. I don't know on our customer's end. But I can quickly show just what you were about to show with the employees. I forget, did you do it on salary or ranking?
Oh, I did salary.
Salary. So if we did salary and we went to here and did conditional formatting here, and then if I go to big picture, I can go ahead and create that org chart. And the beauty is this is kind of where, you know, earlier I had said, you know, you can use big picture to strategize and organize. And this is part of the analyze thing. Like now we can, I'm going to expand this out. And to expand the entire map out, I can just go to note topics collapsed here. And I'm going to expand it out. And what's nice about this is if I zoom out a bit, I can see at a quick glance where the green and the yellows are relative to the others, and maybe we take a look at at this level, there should be more orange going on here, right? A lighter orange versus a stronger yellow. And I can look here and go, okay, it kind of makes sense that William, he only has one person under him, okay, he should be yellow. But Tammy Barr, she's managing 4 people under her, and she's still in that yellow category. Let's see what her income is. Her income's 79,300. Well, she has someone on her team right here that's making 81,000. She's managing someone that makes more money than her. So, maybe there's something we got to look at and see what's going on. And the reality is they both have a 7 rating. So at quick glance, I can kind of look at this org chart and go, ooh, we might want to either sit down and talk to Tammy and find out what's going on with her team, or maybe we promote Sheila Hart because she's earning more, or maybe she came to the table with different experiences, or maybe this was a strategic plan and we brought Sheila Hart on to someday replace Tammy Barr. Who knows? But it's a way for us to at least kind of look at quick glance where everyone stands and where they're at, and you can see with ways, just seeing the numbers, this is a 9, this is an 8, this is a 6. How is it that David Cook and Sandra Wilcox are making about the same, and they're both developers? Maybe one project is more important than the other, maybe one's more stressful, what have you, but at least it gives us a quick glance to look and see um, where everyone's at financially. And you can also code based on ranking. Even though you have the numbers, you might want to see it more prominently by seeing the topics colored that way. So that's the org chart. The last example I'm going to quickly show you, because again we want to be mindful of time. I'll close this one out, is the slideshow example. And this can be accessed via that example spreadsheet list. And this one is called break-even analysis. Essentially, we have this concept map of how, or a diagram map of how to figure out how many items to be printed in order to be mailed out to see a profit in the end. And it's a direct mailing example, essentially. And looking at this, we may not know that. But if I hit this play button, there's a slideshow built into this particular Excel file in BigPicture, and it says a mail order company must decide how many catalogs to mail to prospective customers. And then if I click the arrow again, based on the number mailed and the response rate, the company will observe the number of responses, i.e. the number of customers who purchased something. So this actually walks through. So now you can picture BigPicture being used as a training tool for your team. Someone new comes on board and they're part of the marketing team, and you tell them, well, we got to figure out, calculate what the profit is based on a direct mailing piece. Well, they can actually walk through and see those steps. So you can build it once and use it hundreds of times afterwards, and that's the beauty of it. Now, how do you build a slideshow such as this? You simply click on the slideshow button, and it brings up this dialog, and within this dialog, you can specify which topics you want to include. So for this particular one, we're choosing, so slide 3 is going to add these 2 topics. In addition to, because we've selected this all prior slides, it'll add those 2 topics. And so that's the beauty of being able to create it. And then if you want to add a slide, so say we're on slide 7, we want to add a slide and we want to say, I don't want any other things shown. I just want to show that I want to have the average order size, variable cost per unit, fixed cost. Those are my key things I want to go back and talk about. I want to mention something about that after they've already seen the big thing, the big picture of it all. Those are 3 other things. So I want to add that to the slide sequence. I can click OK here, and then I can edit what the dialog at the top says by going to this slide description things, and if I scroll down here, you're going to see enter slide description here. So this is where we can actually say, these are the 3, whoops, hello fat fingers, 3 attributes focus on. So now when I go back, I'm going to go ahead and unhide this, or hide it, I mean. Now I can go back here, and when I hit play, when we get to screen 8, so if I click through and get to screen 8, there's our 3. And see how this box is bigger? Well, we just simply resized that box from that same sheet that we were in. So it's all linked together. So if I go back here, let's stop this. If I go back here and say unhide slide descriptions, see how I left this box really large. Well, I can shrink that box down, hide it, because they don't need to see that when they open up their file, and press play. Now, before you saw me click through everything, another thing you can do is open up your slideshow controls, and it'll bring up your slideshow controls, similar to like a PowerPoint situation, and I can opt for full screen, so now we really don't feel like we're in Excel at all, or in BigPicture at all. We look like we're in a presentation tool, and then I can click right to slide 8 and look at it here. This is also where you can do autoplay, or you can actually click through and do the next here, so you can actually still have those controls working just like normal. Another option you can do is when you're playing the tool, playing the slideshow, you can actually um, change the look of these as well, the main thing. So if I show this slide description box, basically what it's saying is format this and we'll change the look of this. So you click here and we can say actually I want it to be this. Actually, let's do something not so clunky. We'll just do simple, okay? Purple outline. And I can go back to BigPicture and say, let's not show that, and then see how it will automatically update. So they can click through and see it. And there's your 3, 2. So just showing you, again, that BigPicture can be used as a presentation tool. And I apologize for anyone that may have seen any of that delay earlier. I'm curious to see what will happen in our recording to see whether or not it'll have what I was seeing or what you might have seen or what Robin was seeing. But I do want to just simply say thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules, and we welcome you to send us feedback, send us your suggestions, send us what you're working on. If you're a BigPicture user already and you were just here to kind of learn a few tips and tricks, let us know what you're working on. We really do want to start getting some case studies put together of what people are using this for. I know I personally use it on a regular basis. Even when I'm about to write a blog, I will map out, do a quick little mind map or a map of what I plan on writing about. So it can be used for a variety of different things. It can span across all different industries. Like I said, even in the mind mapping conference that was solely on mind mapping, I saw medical practitioners. I actually also met the gentleman who did a mind map of the rebuilding of New York City after 9/11. And it's actually in the 9/11 museum. So that was pretty neat to see. And you can use it for content, right? You can use it for so many different things. So I encourage you to play with it and experiment with it and let us know what you're working on. So thank you, Robin, for taking care of half the presentation, and thank you to everyone that joined us today. We appreciate you and hope to hear from you. Have a wonderful afternoon and evening. Bye for now.